I'd like to introduce two special guests that we have this evening. My wife, Lynn, was not able to come tonight, even though she was scheduled to participate. But we do have Virginia Small, who's journeying all the way from India.
No.
Just to give this talk tonight.
I'm going back tomorrow.
And also, since Lynn could not be here, my sister Diana has flown in from Memphis to take her place. Accompanied by her husband Craig, who came from Memphis. Adi K Irani used to begin many of his talks with a little prayer that he wrote to Baba, and I would like to start off tonight's meeting with that little prayer.
Now we begin with a little prayer first. Beloved Meher Baba, bless us all so that in the stress and strain of our daily life and the fluctuations of our mind, we learn to relax wholly and wholeheartedly and float on the ocean of your love, calling for your breath of joy, your breeze of compassion, and your wind of strength to flood into every fiber of our body, every corner of our mind, every space of our heart, to cleanse us of all the impurities and make us worthy of your love, your obedience, your service, and above all, your pleasure. Jai Baba.
As most of you know, Adi was a long-time, very close disciple and Manjali member of Meher Baba for about 60 years. Since Adi was a teenager, he was with Baba all the way until 1980, when he passed away. And for the last almost 4 decades, he was the personal secretary of Meher Baba. Most of you that knew Adi also remember him as being very outspoken, to say the least. Very strong, dynamic personality. Yet at the same time, he would be always sensitive to everyone's needs. He was not a bulldozer. He was not only strong, but very tender. I think one of the nicest qualities, although he had so much pressure on him, so many demands, people wanting him for this and that, and he took care of business. He was a very sharp businessman in Meher Baba's cause. And yet, with all the demands on his time, he always had time for someone's personal problem, whether it be big or very small. I wanted to share one of the things that Meher Baba had said about Adi, had told Adi in the early years. It was back in Manzil-e-Mim. Adi had forgotten about this for decades, until Khorshid, who had been there at Manzil-e-Mim back in the early 20s, reminded him that Baba had said this. And
Tell us who Khorshid is.
Khorshid is also one of the close Manjali female Manjali members who has been with Baba since she was a teenager, since those early days also. Is she related to Meher?
No, Khorshid is a cousin of Adi.
Okay.
And she's related indirectly because she is the niece of the cousin of Adi, therefore the niece of the mother. Now with her mother is Sunamati. Gulmai and Sunamati were sisters. Khorshid was the daughter of Sunamati. Gulmai was the mother of Adi, therefore Khorshid and Adi were cousins. So they met Baba about the same time.
I see.
In fact, Khorshid met Baba before Adi did.
I see.
She was only 12 years old.
12 years old, yeah. She's been on from the start. What Baba had told Adi and Manzil-e-Mim, and which didn't come true for many, many years, but then did come true in kind of an interesting way, which we'll recount later on. Baba one day took Adi aside and said, "Will you stay with me for your whole life?" And Adi said, "Yes." And at this point, Adi would have been 19. He said, "When I call you, will you go with me for bhiksha?" That means begging for food, which they in fact did in the new life. And Adi said, "Yes, I'll do that also." And he said, "Will you speak for me as Vivekananda spoke for Ramakrishna?" Ramakrishna was a perfect master in the 1800s. Vivekananda was an extremely eloquent spokesman, the man who brought the message of yoga to the West at the turn of this century. A very famous man in India, Vivekananda. And Baba went on to say, "I will give you my power to speak for me, just as Ramakrishna gave Vivekananda his power to speak for him." Now, this didn't happen for decades, this power to speak. Then when it did happen, it came on full force. Tonight's sharing of Adi, we're going to divide in several parts. We want to first share some of the early connections that show how Adi and his family members came into the orbit of Meher Baba's love, which also entail how Meherabad came to be Baba's place, because it was owned by Adi's parents. Then also we're going to share some insights and experiences that Adi has harvested from his many years with Baba, and also we're going to share a little bit from the new life, since as Mark pointed out, the new life anniversary is just 2 days from now. And then we'd like to conclude with some sharing with you folks. We hope that you people will feel in the mood and your hearts will respond and you'll remember some of the good times, some of the experiences and feelings that you had with Adi, and we certainly heartily invite you to share them tonight with all of us. Now, Virginia, could you enlighten us a little bit as to how Adi and his clan came into the orbit of Baba's love?
Well, it all starts with his mother, Gulmai, who, if you know about the trust office in India, in Ahmednagar, those quarters belonged to the family of Adi, which made it belong to his mother, Gulmai, and the father, whose name was Kaikushu, and that's why today they call it Kaikushu quarters, or the trust office. This happened way back in 1918 or so. But anyway, Gulmai, Adi was born about 1903, I think. 1903, all right. His mother was a beautiful woman, very intelligent, very sensitive. And she married this Kaikushu, who was a good man, a very good businessman. He had a partner who was also his brother-in-law, who was married to his sister, whose name was also Gulmai, right? But they changed it to Gulnar, so they wouldn't mix up the two. Gulnar. Gulnar was the mother of Saroj. Does anybody know Saroj and Bilu? All right. Therefore, Adi and Saroj were first cousins. Very good friends. They loved each other a lot. But the father of Saroj was very nice to his mother. And he was very influential on the father of Adi, who was with Baba one time, and his brother-in-law, his partner, would say something, then he would turn against Baba, and then again he would Gulmai would talk to him, and again he would go to Baba. Anyway, how did she get interested in a Hindu master to begin with, which was a Parsi Maharaj? She was so unhappy in this household. They treated her like a servant in the early days, and yet her husband was the main breadwinner of the family. He was contributing to everything, but his wife was the beggar in the family. She had to make chapatis. Sometimes she would give her one egg for her two sons, and she would give each one, and she grieved that she could not give her children food. So warm clothes. They treated her like that. She was they were all Zoroastrians that belonged to this exclusive community of Zoroastrians, who were descendants of the who lived in Iran, and they escaped from Iran, and they believe in the prophet Zoroaster. And they're very, the community is probably true that they were superior, they were highly educated people, But they did sort of look down on the Hindus. They didn't believe in Hindu masters or having to do with them. They just had their own thinking. But Gulmai was so unhappy in her household that she started looking for solace somewhere out of her family circle. And the one good thing that Gulnar, the sister-in-law, was mean to her. In the early days, she was interested in Upasni for a country phase of her life, and she told Gulmai about it. And Gulmai immediately ran to Sakuri, which is the headquarters of Upasni. And she was immediately loved by Upasni and showered with affection and warmth. And there she found solace from her pain from her family. They did not approve. They're going to Hindu master, why do you have to go? You have Prophet Muhammad, the idea of being a Hindu, you know.
No, how was Zoroaster?
What did I say?
Muhammad.
I'm sorry. Zoroaster. Okay. But she persisted in spite of their criticism, she went. Then she met Meher Baba, who was just a disciple of Fatmi. As you know, in the early days he was one of them. He was there and he would sing and he would not take care of himself. I'm talking about Meher Baba was then called Merwan. That was his name, Merwan. And so, in the early days, Gulmai would go there and Baba would come and pick up her luggage, you know, and take it to the room and help make her comfortable. Just imagine Baba was carrying her luggage, you know, just a young boy. And here was Gulmai, the mother. So then the Krishna Maharaj told Gulmai, you take care of Merwan, he's my number one disciple. You treat him like a son, feed him, take care of him. And so Gulmai fed him, took care of him, and started to have this affection for Merwan, who told her, you are my mother in this lifetime. And so they had a bond between them. So she would go to every time she'd be having a happy experience at home, she'd run to Sakuri, and there would be Baba, and there would be Upasni. So one day, she told her, of course, Adi did not approve of it at all. He said, what are you saying that mother going to this Hindu? Adi didn't she have the prophet Zoroaster? And the mother says, never mind, he would drive me to Sakuri. He said, me? Certainly not. I'm not trying to do with Hindu. He was begging, please take me there. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell your father. Please take me. So then after she said, no. She said, please. I said, all right.
You just mentioned one thing too, that in the household where they lived, it wasn't just her immediate family, but also another
joint
related family, a joint family, so it was quite extended. So there were a lot of relatives all packed into one household, all looking down on her for going to this Hindu master and giving her lots of flack for it.
But she was so brave. Anyway, so said, all right, I won't tell anyone what they to do. No sooner did he see Upasni, he just smiled, he just fell without his mouth, fell on the ground. Adi. So he fell and he fell in love with Upasni immediately. He became a follower like his mother. So the two of them were keeping the secret, you know, like nobody would go there, see Upasni. And Adi says, he saw this Merwan, he was there, but there was nothing in particular. No one incident he remembers that Merwan captured his heart, but he does remember seeing this young man who was always singing and extolling his masters and the dynamic, and he was attractive but not that much to Merwan. So, this went on for years. He was in his early, maybe 14, 15, he was going to matriculation, maybe junior high or high school. So one day they had a 1921 the family of Adi. The father was so businesslike, they started to rise, make more and more money. And so now he built a 3-story house. Magnificent in those days for his family. And so, what does Gulmai do? She goes and invites her Hindu master, the Kashmir. And he brings Merwan and, what? I just wanted to say. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a question. So then she further scandalizes the whole community with her action. So she brought this Hindu It started to darshan, thousands of people came.
In their house. As part of their housewarming celebration, where everybody else was invited also.
All this harassed the high society, and the father was going, why did you do this to me? And she said, that is my message. And then the partner said, why did you do this to me? And he said, the poor man, he said, your wife, he loves his wife. He was given by the partner. And the whole community was against her more than ever. Okay, so he brings marijuana to one of his disciples. And Vikaji, who partly inherited from Sai Baba, you remember that? Everybody remember Vikaji? Given to Vikaji by Sai Baba when he died. So now he was king. Marijuana was just a young boy, he was just one of the people there, And then I got very sick. He could not go to the meeting, to the festivities in the three-story house. He had to go to the Kushka quarters, the old quarters. He was too sick to go anywhere. He was just in bed with fever and miserable. And everybody was having a good time. Not that they forgot they was issue. There's nothing for Adi was, nobody loves me, everybody's having a good time. But did Baba forget him now? Baba went over there and took care of him just like a mother. And just fed him, cared for him. And that sweat cloth and wiped off the table. And that's when Adi really was won over because he said, even my family, they're all busy having a good time, but this man, he loves me, and he could feel the oceanic love of MeherBaba pouring out of him in benefit. And that's when he really was touched and furthered with Baba's love. And he said that was the turning point of his life, this statement. And gradually that from now to Baba, he became like his own mother, better than his mother. His mother loved him a lot. So then, finally he got well. Gulmarg alienated her, created herself away from the community. His father was, and the partner was furious, and anyway, more trouble than ever. So one day, Baba and Adi were in the old quarters somewhere, sitting by the well. And Baba said something to Adi. This one, also, besides Martilla May, he also told him, would you like to be with me? Yes, Baba, like, will you serve me? Yes. Yes, I'll do it right now. He said, no. Right now you go to school, get your college degree. I'll call you when I'm ready for you. But Adi was ready to drop everything and go to Baba. So Adi had to go to college, had to go to, Pune. So then, shortly thereafter, there was six-plane thing. Six-plane thing. You probably know the story about the six-plane thing.
What's a six-plane thing for people who don't know?
Okay, real briefly, Baba has divided the spiritual hierarchy, the spheres, into 7 planes of consciousness. The one that we share right now is the gross world. We're not on even the first plane. The first plane is a very... Most of it. Sorry, Will. Let me rephrase that, Will. The rest of it. The first plane is so high and so exalted that I remember Phyllis saying that someone on the first plane could literally look at a moving train and with their mind alone could make it stop in its tracks. So you're not a spiritual wimp when you're on the first plane, to put it bluntly. And then you have all the planes up to the 7th plane of consciousness, which is where you literally become one with your creator, one with yourself, one with the universe, and you realize who you really are. So this man was very close to the 7th plane. He had attained the 6th plane of consciousness. Very, very exalted state.
And this was funny because he was the cook of Queen Victoria, can you imagine? So when he retired, he had accumulated all his wealth, all his gold, and then go to India and build himself a mansion and enjoy life. So one day he was just walking down the road suddenly. He his time had come. Apparently, he was advanced from some other life. But suddenly he realized, what am I doing here? What is this? He looked at his gold with money, and he just threw it away, and it became like a master thing. So anyway, Gulmai and Adi honored him before Baba. He would come, they would feed him, take care of him, you know. So then, one day, he was Muslim, by the way, Muslim, follower of Muhammad. One day he told his followers, come follow me. I want to show you where I want to be buried. And he walked and he walked and he walked and said, where's he going? I want to see that the house or not. He's nowhere. Finally stopped where now it's MeherBaba, which was near our village. It was a British military camp in World War II, and was abandoned after World War II. And Kaikushu, Adi's husband, had bought it him after he owned all that land around the hill, all that, that's how it is. So he said, here, right here. And the followers looked. But Master, what is this place? These are desert. Why do they want to be buried?
There were scorpions out there.
Yes, great scorpions, wilderness. What is it? He says, this is where I want to be buried. But why, Master? Why here? How can we come here? How can we put flowers in your tomb and honor you? He says, you don't have to do any of that. There will come somebody so sublime, so supreme, that the dust from his feet as he passes by will garland. That will cover my tomb. That's enough garland for me, because he is the perfect man. And so they couldn't say, okay, that's what you want, Master. And so then he went and asked Gulmai, can I have this piece of land, in the wilderness somewhere? Small piece. How big is that piece? 6 by 6, 10 by 10, I don't know. Right there. And Gulmai, why yes, sir? That's Master. And then he gave her a hint. Someday that will be the closest. He said, MeherBaba, he said, I don't think he could.
No, he did not say Baba's name. He said a great master.
A great, perfect one will settle there. And I want to be there and be darshan from the dust and heat. And Gulmai, so I know this. So she rushes down. By now, Baba was in Mantilamin. And in the meanwhile, on the side, her daughter, the son of Gulmai, the brother of Adi, Rustam, you heard of Rustam? He was looking for a bride, and the mother Mera's sister Fanny, they were looking for a match. So she went to Bombay to ask Baba's permission. He said, okay, Rustam marry Fanny. Baba said, yes. Will you come to the wedding in Ahmednagar? And then she said, and I invite you to settle in Arangaon, this village. This land belongs to us. I give it to you, Master. That's a gift. Mom said, well, we'll see. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no. And then she said, will you come to the wedding? And so, what did Mom say? Yes, we'll see. Or what? Yeah, he blessed it. He went to the wedding, okay? So then he went to the wedding, and eventually the land was given to him. But there's some funny incident about the father of Adi. Do you want to tell it? I'll digress for a minute, because now it's Stephen's turn, because after Mantilamin or Mantilamin, that's your third turn. But anyway, I'll tell about the father. So eventually, Kaikushu, the father of Adi, became very wealthy. So Baba saw him when they were poor, and he was going to Baba, and he was sincere when he bowed down before him. And he would go to his partner who would turn him against Baba again. This went on and like this. Baba said, someday you'll be a Khan Sahab. Khan Sahab used to say, like you'll be knighted by the British, you will be wealthy. And it happened very fast. He became very wealthy, and sure enough, he became a Khan Sahab, meaning high title. And they would deal with the British, which in those days, the British did not admit. But he was not Hindu, he was a Zoroastrian. And the British considered the Zoroastrians, they were more educated than the Hindus, So, then they got wealthy, all right. So then the mother, Baba would want some furniture, because he was now in the auction business of furniture. So when the father wasn't looking, she'd tell Adi, get some furniture and get it down to nearby, but don't let your father know. So Adi would wait till the father was out of somewhere, and then he'd load in his little car and take it down to nearby. Then the father wouldn't say, "It looks familiar, this furniture." And the wife was like, you know, and then she'd take his pocket, get money, and give it to Baba to give to the poor. So she did that. He loved it. I'm sure he knew it, but he loved it anyway. So he said, "This looks familiar." So, you know, this furniture. And then when Baba decided to break up the ashram, he said, "I swear I saw this in MeherBabaLibrary." Well, I think I was mentioning it. Back in his garage. Okay, now then I'll tell about the mother when she died. Okay, so then I'll jump to when Gumai died. I just found this out a month ago, by the way. I was talking to Masari, and Masari told me that when Gumai died, Baba went to the funeral. She was already in the ground, you know. He came and he threw a rose. And he hit her lip, a petal lip. And he said something which I'm afraid I can't remember what, but it implied that this was her last life. And I asked Jack, I said, "Is it true?" He said, "Yeah, didn't you know that Adi told us?" I said, "I don't remember. Is that what?" She just said like that. Adi told us so, and I said, "No, but yes." It was her last life, but she was so devoted, suffered so much for his name. In his name. No, I don't remember the word God realized that. At least she was liberated. But we'll ask, when I go back, I'll ask Jackson whether it was God realized or liberated. Isn't that wonderful?
Whatever it is,
Whatever it
she's
is.
doing all right.
Yes, whatever, right? So that's a happy ending to his mother.
Thank you very much, Virginia.
Okay.
This particular saint, yes, that
I said it in the early time. I told her, I said, I opened the talk, that she was his patron. That she was his patron.
Now, for most of you that have been to India and Meherabad, you've seen that tomb of that particular saint. It's right on the path, and it is there, right in Meherabad at the ashram. It's kind of interesting, this, since we were just talking about that, I'll carry on with him for right now. This saint used to come to Kushru quarters there, which is now the trust compound, and used to visit Adi and his mother. Now, here's Adi, a teenager, and here's some sixth-plane saint coming to his door to play and chat and things like that. Now, Fred was earlier telling me a little bit about his life as a teenager, and I can tell you there's quite a contrast between Fred's teenage life and Adi's, with the sixth plane saint coming to his door. He's got Upasani Maharaj, a perfect master in his list of acquaintances, and now MeherBaba the Avatar. I mean, Adi was not doing too badly as a teenager, I should say.
But tell us about Fred's.
So, Fred's cheeks are red enough already. But this saint used to come and used to call Adi out and chat and things. Used to call on him regularly, as a matter of fact. And Baba, early on, said, after Adi said that he wanted to be, he himself, Adi wanted to be with Baba and devote his life to him, and Baba said, "Okay, good, then don't see any other saints. Just stick to me." Cut them all loose. And so, one day, this sixth-plane saint came up to the gate that's there right now that you see when you go into the trust compound. And he called Adi out, the way they do in India, you know. And so Adi was on the veranda there, which is right outside Pat's office to this day. And he was just running out to see him. Baba was also on the veranda over to the side. And Baba said, "What did I tell you?" And Adi went, Adi said, exactly here. He said, "It's a mistake on my part, Baba, and I shall always remember." And then he just went like that to the Six Plain Saint, and that was it. You didn't see the Six Plain Saints anymore on a social basis.
What? They might want to know why the Baba did that. Why did he have not to see everything?
Can you explain that?
I thought it was just all right, who can explain?
No confusion left in the mind now. If you go with the avatar, then you just stick with him. If you go with the Six Plain Saint, then you'll get confused.
No, that's true. That's what Baba said.
Or something like
Basically, the idea is that once you find your own real master, then you stick to him like glue. He's your ticket. And to diffuse yourself out, to spread out and try to follow more than one is actually literally impossible. It's like, even on a simple level, let's say, if you're a great pianist, you can't follow two different maestros teaching two different techniques. You cannot do it. You would diffuse yourself and you would not excel in either.
And yet they're both good.
They're both great, yes. In the same way in the spiritual path, when you find the one that's good for you, when you go to the well that has the water that quenches your thirst, then you stick to that one. If it doesn't quench your thirst, then keep looking. But when you find that one, then you stick to it like glue. So that was the experience there with Maulana Baba, whose tomb is there to this day, right at Meherabad. One of the things I want to share too about Adi's life is we know now how his connection was with Baba. But another question arises: how did he come to know and accept Baba as the avatar? And some of you probably remember that, as Adi explained it, there are 3 instances in his life that convinced him that Meher Baba is the avatar of the age. The first one, of course, Gustaji, remember Virginia explaining, had been a disciple of Sai Baba, the original Sai Baba of Shirdi, who is the most well-known saint in all of India. There's pictures everywhere you go. And that Sai Baba, whose following is tremendously great. Even now he died, I think, in 19 teens somewhere. But even to this day, his following is so great, it's phenomenal. Baba said that he was a perfect master, and one of Baba's masters. And Gustaji had been there on that one day when Meher Baba had gone to Sai Baba, and Sai Baba had pointed at him and said, Parvardigar, which means God the Preserver. Right. And Gustaji was one of Sai Baba's close followers, and he saw this and he went, he knew what that meant, that this was somebody pretty significant. And then later, before Sai Baba died, Sai Baba transferred Gustaji over to Sai Baba's number 1 disciple, who was Upasani Maharaj, another perfect master. So now Gustaji was with him, and Gustaji then was later transferred by Upasani Maharaj to Meher Baba. So in one life he had 3 perfect masters. And so now that Gustaji was with Meher Baba, he mentioned to Adi one day, he said, I was there that day when Sai Baba proclaimed in front of one and all that Meher Baba was the avatar. Was the Parvartikar. And so Adi went, I'm impressed. It's pretty significant. But that wasn't enough to convince him yet. But he always remembered it. Then, some years later, in fact it was in the 30s, Upasani Maharaj would occasionally come still to visit Adi's mother and come to the trust compound now, Kushu quarters. In fact, many of you have seen that little room back there. That is Upasani Maharaj's room. It's got his whole gunny sacks that he wore. He didn't wear clothes. He had gunny sacks around him to cover him. Yeah, a trendsetter. And so that room is there to this day, and that is where Upasani Maharaj used to stay whenever he would come to visit Gulmai. One time in the 30s, Adi was in Nasik with Baba, and he went, and Baba sent him back home for some reason. He arrived just at home, just at the exact same time that Upasani Maharaj arrived there. So naturally he greeted him and was happy to see him. And Vasani Maharaj went into his little room there, and he asked Adi's mother to bring him a arti tray. For those of you that don't know what arti is, that's a... Will, can you tell us?
Arti? What is arti?
It's a devotional singing and... Pardon me? Yeah, in the Hindu tradition. And so that's
honoring the master. Right?
Honoring the master, yes. That's what a disciple does for his master. He performs arti. It's like a devotional singing, lights some incense and some little routine to express devotion and respect and reverence. And it was a shock to Adi when he saw Vasani Maharaj perform arti to MeherBaba's picture. Adi was stunned. He goes, yeah, this is the master doing arti to the disciple. I've never heard of this. This has never been done, ever. And he was stunned by it, but he was respectfully standing by. And then, after arti was over, Vasani Maharaj turned his head and said, "You know who MeherBaba is?" Adi said, "Well, yes, I do know who he is, but you being his master," that was two things, two very strong, powerful statements by people of renown. Still, he wasn't quite convinced. It didn't occur until the 1950s, when Baba himself proclaimed before one and all, he said, "I am, undoubtedly, there's no doubt, I am the avatar of the age, I am the ancient one." And when Adi heard that, right out of Baba's own lips, he went, that's it. His conviction became unassailable from there and then on.
Excuse me, may I interrupt?
Sure.
Baba, it was after the accident when his leg was broken and he was in a cast. And he was in Hamirpur, was it? And then the Mandali said, "Oh my God, why is he going to do it now that he's all broken up? Why is he going to..." Then he declared himself the avatar of the age when he was all broken up in a cast. Which Adi took, because Adi thought, if he's not God, how can he get away with it? I mean, how can he say he's God when he's all broken up? Declaring himself the avatar, and there was so much conviction and so much love and everything that he must have been something to be able to get away with it. People say, "Come on, how can you be, look at you broken up and everything?" But no, they live with all their heart, and there he was, totally.
But it was not only that he said it under unusual conditions with his leg in a cast, but also that particular area, Erich recounts, Erich being the translator of Baba's gestures at that time, Erich recounted that he was a little nervous to make that statement because there were many Brahmins in this audience, and he knew that this would rile them. They would find it like a sacrilegious statement.
He was Krishna or something.
Yeah, and so he thought that there might be an uprising, and so he was a little nervous. And Baba, what did Baba did? He knew what was going on in Erich's mind. So he say it out. So Erich emboldened himself and said it out, and he was amazed. He said he was so surprised. Everybody just accepted it.
Yeah,
huge throngs, I don't know, thousands. They just accepted it. And that, I guess, the atmosphere was there. It would make you receptive. I'd like to share just a couple of other little incidents here, and then we'll move right on. This is one little incident that happened that a lesson in obedience, you could call this. Adi was driving back and forth from Ahmednagar to Nasik, spending time at both places. Baba this time was in Nasik, not too far from Ahmednagar, about, what, 2 hours drive?
Nasik is quite a ways. It's farther than Pune. Because we went to Nasik, it's about 3.5 hours.
Okay. And so, Baba said to Adi, he said, "I need you to be here at precisely 12 noon. So be here at noon." Adi said, "No problem, I will." And he was running some errands and doing some things. And then his brother Rustam prevailed upon him to do him a little favor and give a friend of his who was an officer a ride out of the way. And Adi looked at his watch and said, "Well, I could probably make it, sure." So he went ahead and did it. And all of a sudden there was some extra delay there, and time was running along, and he was behind schedule. So he put the pedal to the metal, and he's on his way. And as he's driving along, trying to get to Baba on time, but he's now not there on time, there's some kids playing on the side of the road, and one of them pushes their playmate out into the road, and Adi's car passes over him, and he's injured. And as he does it, Adi goes, "Oh my God," and he happens to look at his watch, and it's 12 noon. And he realized, if I had just done what Baba said. And of course, these things happen with so many of the Mandali and other people. Baba told them at a certain time, don't be here, and when they weren't, there was trouble. So that was a lesson in obedience for Adi.
Well, wait, tell us about what happened.
Okay. And so the little boy, actually, then Adi took him to the hospital and he died. So there was a huge lawsuit against Adi. And for 4 months he was dragged through the courts and sentiment was against him and all that. But finally, he was acquitted. But he really suffered over it and he felt so bad about this little boy.
And what did Baba say when we don't obey him? It's not that he's punishing us for that, but it's that he could see the karma coming. He's trying to prevent it, avoid it. If we would just listen to him, we wouldn't have to go through the suffering. It happened to Pendu.
It happened to Pendu. When Baba told Pendu, he said, I want you to drive to town. Make sure that you're the one that drives. Usually they have a driver. And Baba gave this peculiarity. He said, you drive today to town and run an errand. And so, for some reason, Pendu didn't do it. This is in the early days. And so the regular driver was driving. No, excuse me, I got it backwards. Baba said, no matter what, you have the regular driver drive. Have him drive. Ben said, oh, sure, that's normal.
Don't drive.
Big deal.
Let him drive.
And so he got in the car and the driver was driving, but he noticed the driver was drunk and weaving all over the road. So he went, we'll never make it into town. We'll be killed on the way. So he had the man pull over and they switched seats. So Pendu was driving, and then what happened?
Then they had an accident, and he was hurt badly. And then Baba said, I was trying, and saw it coming, and I told you, why did you drive? I was trying to avoid your karma, but if you had driven, if the driver had driven, even if he was drunk, he would not have had the accident. But since it was your karma, you had to have this, so I told you not to drive, to prevent you from avoid your suffering. I think that doesn't make you.
Yeah. So, lessons in obedience, and here's one other little cute story about obedience with Adi. Some of you may have heard this story too. I think it was in the 30s, and when Baba came to the West, and the men Mandali were instructed that they should not ask anything of the Westerners. They should not ask for anything. And of course, Adi had a very sweet tooth. To put it bluntly, he really craved sweets.
And he was young and hungry and didn't have enough food.
And they were over here eating this very bland food, and so their palate was unsatisfied. But there was one Mandali member, an older gentleman named Kakabarya, who was the person who interacted with the Westerners a lot, and lots of transmissions back and forth. And so Adi prevailed upon Kaka. He said, look, he said, just go ask Minta, this young girl. He said, ask her for the box of chocolates that I saw her that she was going to give to Baba. He said, just go get them from her. Just ask her. And Kaka said, well, Baba said, we're not so. Adi convinced him it would be okay somehow. Adi could be very persuasive. So Kaka, sort of being a good-natured fellow, he went and said, here, why don't you give these to me, sweetie? So she did. And so then Kaka comes back into the other room and opens up the box, and Adi just puts them all into his pocket. Kaka didn't get any of them, and then goes and just eats most of them all on the spot, just munches them down. And of course Baba hears about this. So he brings in Kaka and he says, now what's going on? And Kaka said, look, he says, I was just doing what Adi told me to, and Adi was, of course, right there. And he said, Adi is the one. I didn't even eat that chocolate. Adi ate everything, and he's the one that asked me and put me up to it. And so Kaka felt, well, he was off the hook. And of course his good buddy Adi now, the recipient of his big favor, said, well, he said, Baba, if I told Kaka to go jump in a lake, would he? Should he? So Baba, of course, laughed, and then the heat went back onto Kaka, and Kaka was furious. He'd been tricked by Adi.
You have to do what I told him to.
Also, since this is almost the anniversary of the New Life, we wanted to share one thing about the New Life. Diana, did you have something there?
Yes, I wanted to share with you some of Adi's insight on the New Life. The New Life Baba introduced was a special phase of his physical work. Try spiritualism. This life was new, but the ego was old. All those who took an active part in the new life received a crushing blow to the ego of their old life. The old ego, with all its bodily, mental, and emotional preference, was given a shaking that shattered its very foundation. and made the participants feel that the only purpose for which life was worth living was hopelessness, helplessness, and desirelessness. In a masterly manner, Avatar Meher Baba bulldozed individual barriers of temper, habit, attachment, hope, desire, longing, and security towards a life of freedom from these. And then also for a time, he made his companions relinquish even the sense of master-disciple relationship between Baba and his companions. Companionship, the watchword of all that existed between Baba and those who went out with him on a new life venture. These are Adi's words. The new life, I felt, was a bloodbath of the mind more than of the body, although the body was not excluded from its vigor by any means. At times, the body would get so fatigued that one felt like dying. Before was the time to die. Time to die. The labor work on hand, as commanded by Baba, was a full-time occupation, more important than death. Moreover, the fearlessness of the new life would not permit the age-old occurrence of death to hold on to. Every thought of comfort, pleasure, peace, and plenty receded, and also death seemed powerless to face the new life, Lester. I felt death sought its own death, and the new life went on uninterrupted, as Baba said. The new life will go on even if there is no one to live it.
Thank you. Just wanted to touch on one other thing that Adi used to comment on frequently. This is a kind of a common question that Adi received. Often he would be asked, does Baba change our karma? Can he alter our karma? And Adi had said that Baba will not spare you from your karma usually. Sometimes he will. Sometimes he'll do it. But usually what he will do is give you the inner strength that's needed to fight the battle of life. If he gives you the strength now to face your fears and overcome them, then when they come back again, you're no longer afraid. You're already free. But if he sometimes frees you of a difficult circumstance, then the next time that you're in that circumstance, then you have difficulty once again. But nonetheless, Baba would sometimes free a person's karma. And as an example of that, I'd like to show an example of one where he didn't and one where he did change the karma. One night, Adi came out to Meherabad from town, drove out there, and it was late. Baba was already in bed. And he woke the Mandali up and he said, I've got to see Baba right now. And so Kagabarya, being the one in charge, said, well, I don't think we should wake up Baba. And Adi says, no, I'm sure that Baba wants to be awakened to hear what I have to say. So the Mandali out there all thought that one of the other Mandali members must have died. They were really kind of worried. So they woke Baba up, and Adi explained to me, he says, I've just heard that Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. And I thought that you should know about it. And Baba said, yes, that's very good. I'm glad you told me. And then some of the Mandali members that were there remembered what Baba had said the previous day. Baba's dog had been sick. And so they said, well, Baba, your dog was pretty sick. Do you think that he will live? And Baba said, he'll definitely live longer than Mahatma Gandhi. The next day, Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated, and the next day, Baba's dog died. So that karma was not changed. Another example of karma being changed. They were talking, this was at the time of World War II, and they were reading out the bogus news, the newspaper, and they were hearing about the Japanese dropping bombs. And Baba said, well, you better, he mentioned to Sarosh, who had his large Sarosh cinema in town and his office and his other quarters there, that you better make sure that your place is safe from a bomb too. And Sarosh kind of chuckled, well, it's hardly likely we're going to have any bombs here. And he said, no, he said, definitely, he said, there's going to be a bomb in your compound. There's going to be a bomb that goes off in your compound. So Sarosh didn't quite know how to take it. I mean, it's Japanese, he was thinking Japanese. And then it so happened about 4 months later that a bomb did go off in his tenement. He was there, and there were about 1,500 British soldiers that were there, and this is when they had the anti-British sentiment. And somebody had set off a bomb, and Sarosh was the closest one to it. The closest one. Nothing happened to him. All around him, 12 men were completely disintegrated, blown to bits. And other people had their arms blown off and legs and just dismembered right and left. Sarosh didn't have a scratch. So that could be an example of Baba changing the karma. One of the things that Adi did say, he said that, if you have karma for an accident or something, he said usually what Baba will do is he will help you through it. Not only give you a little strength, but he'll modify the circumstances to make it a little easier for you. And this is the example. He says, supposing there are two persons. One is a non-Baba lover, the other one is a Baba lover. They both have the karma of a car accident in store for them that's coming down the track of their karma. It's in their destiny now. The one man who's a Baba lover, who's not a Baba lover, he has an accident on the road, he's thrown out of his car, he's left in the ditch, it's at night, no one sees him, he suffers all night long. Then they see him the next day, they pick him up, they take him to the hospital. The good doctor is not there, the bad doctor is there. Sets his legs and his bones, and they all come out messed up, and he's a cripple for the rest of his life. A Baba lover having that same karma, it would go a different way. He would still have to undergo the pain, the agony, the accident itself, but it would be lessened in this following way. That you have the accident, I'd be thrown out of the car, but immediately someone else would come along and see him. They would pick him up, they would rush him to the hospital. The best doctor would be there, and there would be nothing to do, plenty of time on his hands, in between patients, and they would rush him in, and he would set his bones right. He would have a short convalescence, and he would come out of it in a much better way. And it's funny, but I used to hear Adi talk about that, and then that exact same thing happened to me, and exactly all those things happened. I was pulled out. Somebody was right there. They pulled me out. Then the paramedics were there, and they took me to the hospital. And the best doctor was right there. I was told later, and he did some really fine stitching on me. And then they sent me to another hospital. It just happened to be the only hospital anywhere in Southern California at the time. They had a certain instrument that was needed for setting my leg that had been broken in 4 places in the right position, and everything happened just like that. It was kind of an amazing coincidence that I did think of that when I was on the hospital bed.
Let me interrupt you. Same thing happened to me. You remember this, Charlie? 1969, we had just come back from the darshan, and my friends, they were at this very fancy camp for air-conditioned room for 6 people. And I just got a job as a teacher. I just started 4 days. They said, please. Can you please drive us? Can go camping at Yosemite? I said, but how can I? I'm working. Oh, they asked me, they begged me for 2-3 weeks. Finally, I said, okay, I'll take the time off. But I don't want to drive because I'll be tired. I'll drive. Clive Adams was one of them. And the other one was Laurel Folds. And the other one was Christian Anderson. 2 girls were burned to death, but I'm going to visit myself, so we went. So coming back, I said, we stopped for gas in Visalia, and I was sleeping in the back with my sister. I said, oh, how come Laurel is driving? I thought you were going to drive fast. I'm just so tired. I said, stop in the park, let's rest for half an hour. Laurel said, no, I've got the final. I've got to go back. I've got to study my final. I'm going to have this exam. And I argued for 10 minutes. And no, she just could not rest. We had to go. And I was so tired with camping. Height all over. I couldn't move. I couldn't drive. Even if I wanted to. I gave up. 10 minutes later, here I am sleeping in the back. Suddenly I hear them, like a police car, and then the camper started to swerve, and boom! Turned over, exploded into flames. In a few minutes, the whole thing was in flames, but the body of the camper separated. And then the police, instead of going to the other accident, they had caused this accident, stopped to help. And they said, somebody's in there, and because I was knocking, I was not unconscious. I was saying, Baba, 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 and they pulled me out. And my sister was there full of pillows, and I took all the pillows and we were lying in the road. And they said, she's dying. They said she's not going to make it. Then the nurse was going somewhere. She stopped. The doctor said, well, she's no problem. She won't make it. And I heard all this. I was, not unconscious. And I just said, Baba, 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 the whole time.
Well, this is you they're talking about, that you weren't going to make it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I was there hearing all this talking about me. And it was 45 minutes before the ambulance came and took us to this Visalia hospital, which just happened to be a brand new hospital. This opened the month before. It was a pilot hospital. Round, everything was fancy there. It was just an experimental hospital. And I noticed that this was Clive and Bill, and I said, where are the other girls? They said, they didn't answer. They were burned to death in the meanwhile. They had exploded. So they took us to the hospital, and same thing, the doctor came, immediately they put me in traction, and the bed, care, everything. And here I am walking, I have a pain in my leg, my leg was broken, not far past my hip and foreplate. And I'm walking. So I said to Jack, when Adi told me, I said, Jack, did you tell him my story? He said, no. How do you know? That's another person who said it,
Oh, he wasn't talking about you, he was talking about
I thought
somebody
he was
else.
talking about me, that the doctor was saying me, it was a Sunday. And and that happened to you and to me.
Yeah.
Well, what about the with
The
the two girls being Baba lovers?
They died, and then he
died?
was really said, Laura didn't have lifeline. She said she saw her. She said she did not have a lifeline. And they were repeating Baba's name according to Clive Adams, and they died. But I found out that they had died, and I was in the hospital, and I was more into shock, like I heard about it, and I had an after-death experience. You read about it, I'm sure, about after-death experience. I left my body and floated into this beautiful place. The stars were like luminescent, and this lovely and this beautiful feeling came over me, and I saw not Baba, but a Chinese face. It was so odd. Somebody told me there's some significance. Sitting down there, very peaceful, And I did not see Laurel or Chris. I knew that they were okay. And I went, they're fine now. Like this knowledge came to me. And I was so blissful there, and that meant that I was dying. But then somehow I opened my eyes, and then I wasn't there. What am I doing here? Broken up? What is it? Why am I not in the other world? It was wonderful. Here I am. And there's a nurse sitting in the corner knitting, and I said, who are you? What are you doing? Oh, I'm just knitting. I'm just sitting here. She was the nurse watching me. They didn't have monitors 20 years ago, I guess, but she was sitting there. What happened? Why am I here? But then from then on I stopped breathing, and Freddy said, you're right. They were with Baba, because I knew it. I felt it. I saw it. I didn't see it, but I felt it. Happiness, bliss, I tell you.
And
I was ready to die right there. I was happy. I said, oh my God, I have to live my life and suffer some more in this one. 20 more years of suffering.
Well, we're glad you did it.
Yes, we are.
But I was ready to go. I was repeating Baba's name. I might even have been liberated.
It's an interesting postscript to that, too. For those of you that did know Phyllis Frederick, she was very clairvoyant and saw people on the other side, just as we see each other here. And she did say that, didn't she say that she saw Laurel hanging around ready to reincarnate back into a Baba family?
But don't say who, honey.
Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I heard that. Don't say who.
So that's a short time. I mean, that's fast. One of the things that Adi also used to say, that he used to put a tremendous emphasis on conviction, and that's what I would like to close with, is one of Adi's favorite phrases on conviction. And he used to say that he placed a tremendous importance on conviction. Conviction as to who Meher Baba really is. It really is up to us to find out who he is. And then once we know, it gives us a tremendous advantage in life. He said, conviction, thy name is God realization in disguise. And God realization, thy name is conviction realized.
Oh.
Conviction, thy name is God realization in disguise. And God realization, thy name is conviction realized.
And then, of course, I'll say one more thing. The Baba said to Erich, what was it that somebody asked, what did you learn when you were Baba all these years? He said, well, what did I learn? Couldn't remember what did he gain by being with Baba, giving up his family, his life, everything. He couldn't pin it down. And so he told Baba, well, you know, Baba, this person asked me, what did I gain by being with you all this life? And I didn't know what to tell him. And Baba said, you're right. If you didn't gain anything, what you did was what? You lost yourself or something?
You lost.
I don't know.
Then Baba gave the analogy of when you're making sugar cane, you know, and you're heating it up in the big vat, all the stuff that comes up at first is the crud and the scum, the dross.
Yeah, what?
And that's what's being given up.
Then he said something about you don't find God, you cannot find God because you cannot find that which you have not lost. How can you find something that you've never lost? If somebody asks you, did you find God? How do you find something that's always with you, that's you, that's within you? You never find God because you never lost it, it's always with you. That was what Eric said.
So the trick of it is
What did he say?
just to lose yourself. Yeah.
Nothing to gain.
Your ego self, and then you find
lose yourself.
your real self.
Find yourself. That's what he said. Eric is
So that concludes what we have to share, and we would like to invite any questions, comments, or sharings from others. And Steve?
Yeah, Steve, I heard the teaching that you were present when Adi passed away. Do you have any anecdotes or experiences related to that time? Can you share with us?
Well, I can just say that Adi was in great shape when he left. Jack Small, Robert Dravis, and I were with him in Southeast India on this tour. They were opening up a new Baba Center there, and I just remember, well, all three of us Westerners, we couldn't keep up with Adi, who was he was 77 at the time. We just couldn't keep up with him. He had boundless energy. He had tons of go power. We were worn out. We were dragging. He was addressing, there was just a literal sea of people out there underneath this huge pandal and beyond. And he would address the crowds, and it was a real shock. You would never have suspected that someone that was apparently that fantastic condition. But all of a sudden in the morning, in the wee hours of the morning, he began to have a heart attack. We didn't realize that at first. We called the doctor. The doctor didn't come. I had to go down and harass those people. Yeah, the doctor came finally after our tremendous insistence because Adi was obviously having some more problems. We didn't realize that it was a heart attack at the time. There weren't overt symptoms of that.
They thought he had gas because he had eaten too much watermelon, but he had indigestion. He just had all this bloated feeling. He said,
the slight misdiagnosis.
Yeah. Baba's name when he died.
Yeah, he was saying Baba's name.
Baba, he said.
And then the doctor came and began to give the doctor. It was Adi's time to go because this doctor didn't know what he was doing, and I practically had to tell him what to do. I said, "Do something, anything. What can you do?" And so he said, "Well, I think he's really dying. It's just too late." So I insisted that he give him some injection to try to re-stimulate, and then we did mouth-to-mouth and heart massage, mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and heart massage for a really long time, maybe even hour and a half. I don't remember, but for a long time. And on the way, of course, while we were doing this, we were going to I said, well, let's go to the hospital where we can get care. And this is a remote part of India, I must say. And we got there, and I looked around the hospital, and it was almost like a big empty building. There was just no facility there. to do anything. And it was his time. Robert Dreyfus said something that I kind of liked there as a conclusion. He had written a comment about Adi's passing, and he said, "The river of love, devotion, and service that was Adi K Irani has now merged with the infinite ocean of love that is MeherBaba." So Adi didn't suffer much. He went quickly. Yeah.
You have a picture of him eating watermelon.
Yes.
You saw that last night?
Yeah, I took that picture. Yeah.
Do you have any photos of him tonight? Do you have any photos of Glossy?
She
You have a
didn't.
picture of me? Not in the book. It's in the book somewhere.
I didn't bring the book.
Yeah, but I saw somebody having a book. Lord Meher? Does anybody not know who Adi is? Everybody know who Adi is? Who does not know who Adi is? Or anything about him? The first time you've heard, anybody here? The first time you've heard of Adi?
Yes, you've probably heard about Baba doing this with a number of people, but he would, sometimes, he would ignore a person. Like, for example, he did that to Rano. All of a sudden, he would start ignoring her. And all of a sudden, she began to feel left out and excluded. And it began to really bother her. And of course, this is bringing up a lot of emotions. As Baba has pointed out very clearly, everything that's in our subconscious must come into the arena of consciousness first before it can be worked out, before we can become free of it. And so Baba would do things. That's one of his jobs, is to stir us up.
Yeah, it's already there. He's just bringing it to the surface, right?
Right. And so he would do things like that. And in this case, Rano really felt bad and went through all kinds of mental troubles about it. And really it was her own feelings of inadequacy or being left out or past experiences of being excluded that she felt bad about. All those things were triggering and coming up until she finally realized, well, gee, Baba's working so hard at ignoring me, he must really be very, very aware of me. In fact, he's got to be acutely aware of me to ignore me so effectively. To walk around her and not look, and you really got to be aware of it. So she comforted herself with that, and then she just relaxed in it, and then Baba immediately gave it up, and then paid attention to her again. And Baba would do various things, provoke a little something here, and then get it resolved. And this happened with Adi. Adi was very frank about it. He said that he had a jealous nature. He'd become very jealous, and he would see other people that were perhaps very close to Baba. Sometimes he would feel very jealous about that. And Baba did work on that with him tremendously, and would sometimes ignore him quite blatantly for long periods of time. And it would build up for a number of months even. And one time, in fact, Adi was ready to leave Baba. He said, I just can't take this. I'm fed up. This just hurts me too much. I'm leaving. And Adi was already almost 50 years of age. He didn't have a family to turn to. He had no money. Had nowhere to go. Did nothing. Now he's getting to be 50 years of age. And he was ready to leave. And just as he was making up his mind and getting his resolve to leave, Harris comes running up. He says, Baba wants to see you right now. So Adi thinks, well, what's the harm? I can see him and then I can just go from there. So he goes over to see Baba, and as he approaches Baba, he sees Baba, and Baba just looks at him and just smiles. And he says, right then, like, he felt all lifted up, and all the feelings and everything just cleared up, and he felt heavenly. Just felt blissed out. And so Baba would do that periodically. He would give him a little squeeze on his hand, and it would clear up the turmoil in his mind. It would leave him, and he would feel transported into a different world. The world where he'd like to stay, but he said he had to do business here. So he... Yes, Chris?
Yeah, I heard that Baba did it a whole lot with them.
Yes.
At some time before he was going to drop it so that Adi would be able to function with the apparent separation.
Yes, Adi was extremely attached, as he said, very, very attached to Baba in the body. Really, really, really remarkably attached. And he said that if Baba had not pushed him away and given him some distance, in fact, that Baba even lectured him one time. He said, Adi, he said, what do you want? And I said, I want you. And Baba said, good. What of me do you want? Do you want my reality or do you want my body? Do you want my physical form? And of course, Adi, being ever clever, he thought, well, hey, the reality's got to include the form and not otherwise, so I better go for that. Because I want your reality. And Baba said, okay, if you want the real me, then start giving up your attachment to my physical form. And Baba did push Adi back in a way. And then when Baba did drop his body, Adi said that he needed that distance in order to be able to function and carry on the work. Otherwise he would have been just too distraught, destroyed, actually. So you're right, Chris, that's correct. Yes, Fred?
Very special in my meeting here. I get several times in seminary from India. One time they asked me to read the Master's Prayer, and on my feet, you know English.
Oh, yes.
I was really worried about forgetting the lines, so I took a copy of it, put it in my back pocket, and so I started, right after the silence at the tomb. I just went blank in the middle of it. And who was there coaching me in the back? Unfathomable!
That's great.
So he got me going. That was so funny because it was Adi's voice out of this silence.
That is hilarious.
I remember coming over with him and we go to the Soros Canteen and we talk and have a lime bricky or Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
We like the Coca-Cola. Very good.
He actually did that for me too, something similar to that. I used to be extremely shy in terms of public speaking. I could not speak in public. In fact, I would be so nervous that my heart, my breath would get so shallow that I couldn't hardly get a word out. I would be so nervous in front of the public, in front of the crowd. And so Adi came to hear about this and he went, mare. As he would say. And so he said, I want you to give a talk on the Dogger Center. And I said, the Adi, I'm a little nervous about that. And he said, don't worry about a thing. He says, because I'll be right by your side. And I just felt this strength just flow through me. So I went there and just gave a great talk. Which is also, incidentally, what happened to Adi. Because Adi himself used to be very shy. And yet how was he going to become Baba's Vivekananda? Right? So in the 50s, when they came to the States, they arrived in New York, all the press was out there. They all wanted to see Baba and get an interview. And so Baba said, Adi, why don't you go out and meet the press? And Adi goes, I've never talked to anybody in public about you, much less sophisticated press. Baba, really, that's beyond my capability. Baba just goes, go for it. Gives him that. So Adi walked out there, and he said, all of a sudden he walked out there not knowing what to say, and he said, the words just came. And ever since then, he was on fire to talk about Baba.
Adi reprimanded me, which I remember to this day.
A number of times, wasn't it, Will?
We were having dinner at Vilu's house. I think Adi was at the head of the table, and maybe Vilu was at the other end of the table, and myself. I can't remember who else was there, just a few people. And I just, being new to Baba, spoke up about something about the Sufis. And he took that in. I probably said about 2 sentences. And this is probably 1970. And then he looked at me, just glared at me, and he said, don't speak about things that you don't know about. And I really was just dead silent.
So you haven't spoken much since? No, just...
No. Running from the 7th point down to the 6th.
The last time I saw Adi, it was a funny incident because, I drive in India, the only Westerner who has the nerve to drive among taxis and rickshaws and bullock carts. Only because I drove in Mexico do I have the nerve to drive in India.
You don't want to reach that state again.
No. So then it was time to take him and Stephen and Jack to the train so they could go on this last trip. We said, we'll do the last trip. So then I was standing in the car, and he was coming out of his room, and standing there, he looked at me and said, "Who's going to drive?" I said, "I am." He looked at me this day. "No, I'll drive," he said. And I'm glad it did, because on the way to the station, there was this, what did you say, bullocks by the hunt. I don't know, they came from somewhere like...
Huge herd.
A herd. I couldn't have managed, you see. I would have, this bullock, and he just went right through it all, and I said, "Thank you, Baba."
Wow.
That he took over, because I couldn't have the bullocks with their horns just around the car. And it needed Adi to go through the herd.
Really?
And yet I thought I was the best driver, So Adi said, "I'll drive." And then he was joking with me, that he thought I offended. And he did not offend me, because when I saw this bullock, I was very grateful. Buffaloes with big horns, So then I stayed with him, and he was laughing, and he was joking, and it was the best mood before he went on the train, before the last time, that was alive. He came back in a dead body, but he was laughing and joking. And he said to go through the Jack and Steve and Robert. But the way he looked at me, woman driver. He was right.
I arrived in India the day of Adi's funeral, not knowing that Adi had died. My luggage didn't make it, so I was filling out the form in the little Air India office, care of Adi K Irani. And they said, "Well, Adi K Irani is dead." I said, "No, that's not possible. This is in Ahmednagar and so forth." Then it was in the newspaper, a small little article. They flipped the newspaper over and said, "See, Adi K Irani has died and his funeral is today."
So she arrived at night.
But
March the 4th, I remember, right? March the 4th?
Yeah.
But here in the big airline office, and I'm just filling out the form to have my luggage sent or whatever, and they say, "No, that's not possible."
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well, Jack, as you know, is an attorney, and he was practicing law, and he had this karma with his boss. In his insurance office, the boss would let him take 2 months off to go to India and cover up for him. And that's how he was able to have a relationship with Adi, that he was able to go to India. In those days, nobody was going to India in 1970. Who was there? Nobody. Just Jack.
Wait, I was there.
You were 70? Sure. Was that too much?
Of course. He just wasn't talking.
Adi said, "You want to go with me?"
Just a few great souls were there.
On this trip, and Jack, sure, they would go down to wherever, all over
Travel
India.
all over India.
All over India, Adi and Jack.
And speaking to us.
Yeah. And he would tell Jack to come. Like once after him. Good Jack. And Jack said, people would love Baba so much, if they saw Adi, they wanted to bow down before him. And they saw flowers on the way where Adi was walking, and no, I'm not. They want to worship him because they love Baba. To show how humble and humble they are. Anyway, but it was just stand there, they would worship. Not Adi. He said, no bowing down, Jack. The work was to hold a man up for bowing down to Baba.
So we would have to do it at those train stations, and the Adi would be coming. I mean, the people loved Adi so much. It was just phenomenal. And as we'd be going along, we would have to keep people from bowing down. That was our job, to walk around him. And they loved Adi so much. But so many of them had known Adi for decades, and he'd been their link and the lifeline and through the mail. So many inspirational talks and helping out their families in countless ways. We just loved Adi very much.
So anyway, So Jack just happened to be the only Westerner that was available. It just happened that way. And Jack was there during his first heart attack in 1974. He was in the hospital with Adi when he was dying already. And this happened. Why did he have a heart attack? Some poor farmer said to Adi, I've saved all my money, will you please take this ghee, what ghee is? Verified butter. And Adi, out of courtesy, ate that half a cup of butter. That drowned his heart. He had a heart attack that night, and he died. And Jack said, he was so frightened, Jack was. If they thought Adi was going to die, he made up his mind, I'm going to stay with Adi until he dies. And he said, try to give up my job. But anyway, and aside, in the hospital, they want to take a picture of Adi. Here's Adi having a heart attack. Can we take a picture, just like he was a statue or something? Jack would just drag them out of the room. Leave him alone, it's resting. Take a picture, with his paint, But I thought you were not, they didn't care he was dying. So that was Jack's job, was to keep the people out of the room.
It's not like the people were callous, it's just that they were over enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Like little kids, so to speak, just overly enthusiastic.
And so then Jack is so sick after Adi got in bed, and so they brought him back to the Swami's Naga. And I looked at Adi, I didn't think he'd make it. He was just like unconscious in that bed for months. I was there. And Jack had to go back to work, and Jack just made up his mind. I just want to do this, and he's not going to go there.
So that's what led to Jack quitting his job here in the West and moving permanently to India.
And he told his father, I'm just going to India while Adi's alive, he won't live long. Adi died, the father said, well, he's died now, why don't you come back and practice law with me? And Jack didn't want to come back anymore, so many times. He said, no, I just can't come back, I want to live here. He said he died there in India, Jack said he loves it so much.
Yes?
Jack is in India?
Yeah, Jack Small. Jack Small. So then Jack started doing this legal, what is it, a copyright or whatever the Adi wanted to do. So that's his job now, the copyright for the publications and the books and everything about it. And he got so big that he couldn't handle the whole world. So then he had Don Stevens worked with Jack, two of them. So Jack gave the Europe to Don Stevens in charge now of foreign publications with Jack, and on the hand of America. So he and Don Stevens are working together.
Fred?
I remember Steve Adi would say, sometimes you hear him talk, and somebody would ask him a question about, seeking so-called things in life and so forth. He would say, sure, he says, you can have the pleasures of life all you want. He says, but seek the pleasures of life and lose the joy of Baba.
Yeah.
He says, you can have the pleasures of life, but you can't have the joy of it.
He told you that? He told you?
Yeah. I remember it was so profound to me.
Really, it's a great distinction. Anyone else? Question or sharing? Okay, I think it's time then to say thank you and Jai Baba.
Baba, thank you.